And it says we are live. So if you can all hear us, please type something on the chat like go Jill. Jill being our... If you can all hear us, yes, I can hear myself. This is working. Okay, no technological issues this time. So hello everybody. Thank you all so much for coming. Today we have with us the awesome, the unique Jill Gustavis, who will do a watercolor demo for negative painting, and she will get to that just in 1 second. People are from everywhere in the world. This is very exciting. Okay, so just a reminder or announcement for those of you who do not know, we do these free online demos every single Friday. And if you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, so you'll get a reminder every time we schedule a new one. Moving forward, we will have them scheduled in advance, so you guys can subscribe to that specific video if you want as well. And the next one, next Friday, will be with, I don't want to lie to you, Andrew Penna. I'll get back to you in just a second. I have to open my calendar. But yes, there's one next Friday. And if you can, before we start, please grab the link and share it on your social media if that's okay with you, so your artist friends can join us and we get more people here. That would be lovely and amazing. And yes, next week will be with Andrew Penna, and it will be a gouache demo. So, but for now we have Jill. Oh, and at the end, okay, this is really cool. At the very end, we will do a giveaway of watercolor brushes. If you want to be in, just stay up until the end. Then I will tell you how to enter. You just have to be on the chat and live with us at the very end. And one of you will get a beautiful brush set. Okay, I think that is it. Jill, do you want to start? I will highlight your video. Can
sure.
Everyone on the chat let us know if you see Jill's workspace properly, please?
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. So we're going to be doing a little demo today that's kind of negative painting based. And I will show you the picture in advance. It's, boy, you see my light reflection.
Ooh, this is how Jill's setup looks like. Awesome.
So it's a white tulip with some greenery in the back. And there's a little bit of, get it without, you can see there's a little bit of like coloring at the bottom and in between where some of the petals kind of like fold into each other. But I'm going to show you how I kind of go about doing this sort of painting, like in my sketchbook here, and how like my process kind of looks like. And this is the A5 sized etcher sketchbook, and I'm using hot press paper. So there's not a lot of there's no tooth to this. And I kind of just started, got a little jump start here. And I just have a 5x7 area marked out using this little like cardstock template I have. And it's just artist tape around the edges. And if you don't have like your own made, you can just use like, this is a 4x6 mat and the outside is 5x7, which is a great shortcut. But yeah, so I'm going to quickly just, because I'm going to be talking maybe during this, I'm going to quickly just make a little sketch.
Mm-hmm. In case you guys would like to check our sketchbooks, I'm dropping a link in the chat.
And I don't want it to be too dark because it is a white flower. So if I don't paint in the right area, you're going to see the pencil lines.
And thank you everybody again for coming. I see people from all around the world here today. This is amazing. Hey Jill, do you like to use, I see you're using a 3H pencil, so you prefer harder graphite?
I like both. This just happens to be the pencil that I had in my cup with an easy reach. So it kind of has pros and cons, because the light one, if I keep it a light touch, it stays, you know, a lighter tone, and it doesn't dent my paper. But if you go too hard, it can dent your paper and it's harder to lift. versus like the softer ones, like I also have a 6B pencil here. You have to go really, really light, but it's also easier to erase. So if I had like a kneaded eraser, I could just lift it really easily. I think Erwin kind of showed some of that technique last week, where he kind of marked everything out and then lifted off a lot of it. But that's, you can probably, it's very, very light maybe on your end. But you can see it's very, very light and
very soft. Do you think you can move your phone slightly closer to the canvas so people can see the reference you're asking?
Or I can move the canvas closer to here.
No, that's
because I probably won't be able to see it. I can't, I'm about one brush width away from the camera.
Oh, yeah. I mean the phone so people can see the reference photo. Oh. If you can get the phone in the frame, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yes. I see what you mean.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So
okay.
The light, it's good. So you guys can.
It's only so much lower.
Yeah, we'll have the reference photo available for you for download when we end the video.
Okay, and you can, I don't know if you can see, I have 4 colors marked out here because I know from experience that I can probably achieve all the colors that I want to do kind of in this photo with these 4 colors. And it's just like a deep blue. So this is Indanthrone blue, Quin magenta, no, Quin violet, green gold, and transparent orange. And they're all different manufacturers. It just depends on like who's like pigment you kind of like the best. And so what I'm going to do to start out is I'm going to mix some of the blue and the purple, and I'm basically just shooting for like a gray that's bluish warm. And I'm going to mix in a little bit of the yellow too, just to make it neutral. So you can see it's like a diluted gray there.
So can you explain a little bit about negative painting?
Yes. So this is actually a step that I do before you kind of start in on cutting that negative shape. And what it does is it's going to push, it's going to give form to the kind of the shadows that I'm putting in now. It'll be easier when it's a lot easier to show. So I'm just kind of putting in this under layer, and then the next layer, it'll be a lot easier to kind of show you what exactly negative painting does and how it really like lifts your subjects, especially light colored subjects. It's an easier way to get them to stand out without like putting an outliner on everything. I think a lot of people kind of start with that method, and you realize that that's not how objects look in real life. And it's hard to kind of strike that balance. So this is just an underlaying. I'm just kind of being very sloppy with this. And I'm actually going to bring this outside because I don't want overlapping lines. And you'll see what I mean.
Tell us what brush you're using.
This is a Princeton Neptune 1/2 inch oval. So it's kind of like a flat brush, but then it's got like a curve and a point at the tip. And this is, the Neptunes are synthetic squirrel. So it's very, very soft.
If you guys stay up until the end, you might win our brush giveaway. And those are synthetic as well, because everything we do at Etcher is vegan friendly.
There's really so many options now today that are really, really good for synthetic brushes, that it's just really encouraging to find, you don't have to make compromises as much. Okay, so I'm just going to add in these colors, and then I'm going to take a quick second to mute myself and dry this, and then we'll cut into that really exciting layer.
Okay, while you're drying, I'm spotlighting your other video. So you guys can see what you're using. Can you? There you go. Okay, so Jill is muted to save our precious ears. If you guys want to ask us questions, I forgot to say this at the beginning, please just type question in all caps on the chat so I can easily see that it's a question. And I will be taking those and asking as soon as it's appropriate.
Okay. And you can see I was kind of checking it. I'm just kind of going until it's damp because I really don't mind if it has some fuzzy edges. So I kind of have these shapes in now because the reason I wanted to put this in first is that once I put in the background, if I wanted to put this in, I have to be really careful about like where it ends up against the edge of this. Otherwise you'll get like double paint, like when your edges overlap and you get that little strip of double paint. So what I'm going to do here is mix blue and the green gold and get a nice, that nice like emeraldy green that's behind here.
In the chat, people are asking what brands you are using at the moment, watercolor.
So the ones I'm using right now, this is Blue and Dantrine from Sennelier. The Quinn Violet is Daniel Smith. The green gold is Da Vinci, and the transparent orange is actually Schminke. So a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Have you ever tried our watercolor pens?
I have not tried yours yet.
Will be out soon. You will soon. We are launching watercolor pens on our website very, very, very shortly. Everybody who backed us on Kickstarter, thank you. They are on their way to your home. We would love to hear your thoughts. There was a lot of love and care into the making of those watercolors.
And so what I'm doing here is being very careful that I work both edges around this. And so what this is doing is delineating the edge of this white flower without actually having to draw a border to each of these petals.
I love how you're being so careful with the amount of pigment for the amount of water there.
Yeah, so one of the things that I'm still learning is pigment load and water load. I feel like a lot of watercolors range on one of two responses to this, and it's either not enough pigment, and which I'm usually guilty of, and you end up with like wishy-washy layers and a million layers to achieve like the value that you want in your painting, or you like apply it too thick and then it gets really muddy really quickly. I think there's definitely like, or two camps you can kind of flip-flop in between. Still learning.
No, you're doing a hell great of a job. And by the way, guys, if you want to learn from Jill, she is conducting a $5 mini workshop with us at Etcher Lab. I'll drop the link on the chat so you guys can check it out. We just put it up for sale on our website. If you do buy it, you do spend $5, but you get $10 back in our store. So it's a win-win. You get to learn from Jill and you get some art stuff with a discount.
I'm just mixing some paint over in the side here, because this is still somewhat damp, because I did use the air dryer, and that's a Ranger air dryer, so it's heated craft tool. It's quiet, but it's not that quiet. Not next to my phone. And I'm just adding in some things, but it did make the paper a little like hot and extra dry, so the paint is drying. You can see it at irregular intervals. So
looking good.
I make it some interesting textures, which is okay.
Great comment from the chat from Michelle. I love that you are just putting on so fast at this stage without being too careful. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to let yourself. I mean, I do like painting very carefully, very detailed things every once in a while, but sometimes it's fun to just see what happens, and let the painting kind of take you wherever it wants to go. And right now I'm painting around. There's a little top of a leaf here. And as you start to add more layers, like into a background, negative painting is fun to add interest without adding like too much complication to the scene. So I'm just kind of making up where there might be leaves in the background. I'm not necessarily following the photo. So painting around the stem here. Wow. And it does take a little bit of like, I actually really encourage people to use like imaginary landscapes and imaginary like washes to hone seeing the shapes. I think that's it's a great like hidden sight that you kind of train yourself to see where there could be. You let the paint show you where it wants to make a shape. So like right here, there's this little like mountain valley thing, and I'm just gonna accentuate it. And same with right there. And the reason I kind of like this brush shape is because I can get into these little corners with the point, but then I have this like giant like stroke width.
By the way, guys, I am writing down all the questions and just commenting the ones that are directly related to what Jill is doing. But at the end, I'll bring up everything that we haven't answered, and we'll go through as many questions as we possibly can. Like, you know, those questions where you guys are asking, where did Jill get that cool t-shirt she's wearing?
My Bob Ross t-shirt. It's from a store over here in the States called FYE. It started off as like a music store, but now that people don't really buy CDs or tapes anymore, it's mostly just like pop culture stuff and movies. But they had a whole Bob Ross section, and I love it. All right. So instead of using the heat gun to dry this and do more on the background, I'm actually gonna do like the watercolor trick where you just like move to a different part of the painting. And I am gonna switch brushes. And before you guys ask, this is a Princeton Heritage number 10 round. So this is also synthetic, but it's more like snappy, faux sable-y. Okay, and I'm gonna go back to mixing another like creation of that blue-gray color.
Good question that Doris just asked is why do you do the background before you do more detail on the flower? Why in that order?
I like to move back and forth because sometimes it's really hard to judge the value that you need to achieve in one or the other. As much as I'd like to think that I've been doing this for a while, I still don't know on the first wash how deep I need to get with my values. And so I like bouncing back and forth and kind of letting the background inform the foreground and the foreground inform the background. And so like, you know, maybe and also with watercolor, there's always that drying shift that I don't yet have the hours to know that that's not going to be scary when it dries, you know. And actually once I bleed this out, it won't be quite so dark. But that's why I kind of bounce back and forth. And each painting is actually, I definitely approach each painting differently too. So the next time I paint it, I might, you know, completely finish the flower and then drop in the background just to see what happens.
A question that I can't answer in the chat, is the paper pre-stretched? These are sketchbooks, so you don't really stretch sketchbook. You usually stretch blocks. The sketchbooks Jill is using is the Etcher Sketchbook A5 Cold Press. I am dropping a link in the chat.
Hot press.
Did I say cold?
I do like cold press too. I don't have I like both, but
I was like, in my mind, I was saying hot, but apparently my mouth is not with me today. By the way, why hot press? There seems to be a lot of interest in hot press versus cold, or if it works better in hot.
It gives you different textures. I think it's fun. It can be very frustrating if you're really trying to get a specific effect and you don't have the patience to like go slowly with it. At the same time, hot press, I feel like you get more of these edges because it dries a little bit differently. Cold press, I feel like, is more forgiving. But you know, sometimes I just like to use what I have and see what happens. And just, you know, sometimes you find you don't use something for a long time and then you use it and you're like, oh, I actually really enjoyed that. Like I should use that more often. Like, why did I wait so long to use that up?
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not for every application.
And it also depends on how you like, like you said.
Yeah. See, like you know, sometimes you don't know what the cause is to, like these brush strokes I just put in have already started to sink into the paper and I'm already getting hard lines. But there's also comes a time where like you can kind of just decide, like, you know, in this painting, I'm okay with some textural marks. I'm okay with some blooms, which is when I put in too much water and you can see the paint has this weird, like adverse reaction to it. I'm trying to see. It's hard to see the photo with the light there. And so what I'm doing is kind of just putting in my mark where the shadow is deepest in each of these areas and then using clean water to kind of pull it out and fade that edge.
The gray you're using, you did show us a little while ago. They're asking again on the chat. It's mixed, right?
Yes. So it's the blue and danthrine, the quin violet, and a little bit of my green gold to make it more neutral. You could also use, so I also have that transparent orange. So if I use that to make it more neutral, it'll warm up the gray a little bit. So it'll be more of like this little warmer gray than that cooler gray, which actually is really where I want to go with this inside these top petals here. And so what I'm doing here is painting all the undersides of the petals. So you kind of paint around all of the top petals. So we're delineating the inside area.
Mm-hmm.
And that technique where there works because this is such a small paper, I can kind of get around to filling in that outline pretty quickly. If it was a large paper, it might dry too quickly and you would end up with a very clear outline, which is maybe not what you want. I'm just adding a little color interest there.
I'm going to share a tip that Erwin shared with me. Someone was asking in the chat, it was Linda, does a dry climate dictate any changes to how quickly you paint? Yes, the hotter is the quicker the paint dries. A tip that Erwin shared with me is wet the back of the paper so the paper stays wet longer.
Oh yeah, that definitely works. Especially if you're painting wet in wet. It may interfere if you're doing like one section at a time. But definitely, yeah, because I know like when I do plein air painting, it's always so much drier and hotter. Usually when I go outside, it's in the summer. And I can't do wet and wet techniques when I do plein air painting because it just dries too quickly. And by the time you go back to add in some like details, you're just creating edges all over.
People in the chat are asking, okay, guys, we would love to show you more of the mixing process and the bowl of water, but that would mean we would have to zoom out and you would not see as much of the painting. That's why we made the conscious decision to zoom more in the painting itself. But do you
can see this though? Ta-da! Yeah. It's just two big pools. And I do have two containers of water. I have one to wash my brush and get all the pigment out of it, and then one with clean water.
So at the moment, are you going to the blob of color or are you going to the water to just clean it up a little bit?
There, I cleaned my brush and I'm going into the warm pool of color. And you might, let me see. Yeah, I think you can kind of tell the difference between the two of those in the video. And so the difference between the two is this is on the shadow side. So this is all cooler and inside is kind of like it's filtered through sunshine. I'm not really sure why. It also has some reflected color from the inside of the tulip. So there's going to be the stamen and the pistils in there that are going to be reflecting color into this area, and I'm just lifting the underside of this petal.
For people in the chat who are asking if we can buy individual sketchbooks, please email us at hello@etrilab.com and we'll do our best to help you out. It's hard for us to sell individual because of the shipping costs that we are covering, but please do get in touch with us and we'll get back to you ASAP.
Okay.
People are sharing tips on the chat. It's really cool. Sorry, go ahead, Jill.
Oh no, it's fine. Anything really good? I can't see the chat. So.
No. I'm trying to just ask you very focused questions for what you're doing right now. We can address other questions at the end. I don't want to distract your painting. Yeah, beautiful. Like Michelle is commenting, so fabulous to see how the shape emerges without any drawing of lines.
Yeah, so like I said, the outline I drew at the beginning was only just because usually I do these drawings without a pencil drawing, but because I knew I'd be talking, I'd probably make a mistake and like paint it right off the page. Mm-hmm. So now I'm going to go back into, this has dried, so I'm going to go back into adding some more depth to the background, and just a little bit because the focus is really the flower. But what I'm doing right now is I'm mixing some blue, some purple, basically that another version of that cool gray color. And using just these 4 colors will give the painting a nice like consistency. So I've switched back to this oval brush, and I'm going to go right, and I know this is wet, and that's okay, because I really don't mind if it bleeds up into here at all.
Yeah, it's really coming alive. I'm just echoing the chat. If you do want to learn from Jill, again, Jill is hosting $5 workshops on our website. Those will be with in Zoom, so you will be there and you can ask questions in the chat directly to Jill. There are only $5. They are limited to 100 seats, so they might sell out. And if you do buy a ticket to her mini workshop, you also get $10 voucher to use in our online store. I will drop the link on the chat so you guys can check it out.
And you can see I'm just kind of using same, like I was saying, like same looseness, just seeing what sort of brush marks. So I have clean water now. What kind of brush marks produce what effects? Just kind of see what happens. Just softening some of these lines. And I'm definitely in the camp where if I'm doing a painting like this, I actually really like blooms. Some people don't, but see, I'll add water here and it'll definitely create a bloom.
From the work you share on Instagram. By the way, guys, do follow Jill on Instagram.
So I just lifted out some of that blue I just put down to kind of bring a highlight to this stem.
And is expiration date on the voucher? Nikki, actually, I am not sure. I did not ask that before coming here. I'm sorry. I'm sure that you will get information on that. If there's an expiration date, I'm sure it's not short, because that's how we do business. We don't like to corner you guys into anything. So I'm not too worried about that. The 19 well palette on the wish list. Yeah, the 19 well palette, I'll also drop a link to that. It's our mini palette designed by Stephanie Law. I'll put it here if you guys do want to take a look.
And you can see I'm kind of pulling in some of this color like straight. So the shape I already delineated, but since I'm not lifting all of that color, I'm also bringing in some of the shadow to kind of show that this shape is like wrapping around. And, you know, it's in the same shared space. It's sometimes important to know that like all your objects aren't on like very separate planes, that like the light is moving in and around, you know, all of them maybe in different ways. And it's fun to kind of translate that for the viewer using paint. You see this had this weird drying line, so I'm just going to bring it right up to the flower.
Question in the chat from Jeannie. After putting the water on, are you drying the brush before lifting off the color?
Depends on how dry the paint is. So if the paint is fairly dry, I might just make sure the brush isn't dripping. But if the paint is still fairly wet, yes, I'm going to make sure it's pretty blotted, and then just kind of use it as a thirsty brush to lift out that paint.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah.
And they're also asking if the paper is buckling or if it's illusion because it's wet.
It is waving a little bit, so there's a little bit of buckling, which is why that kind of made that weird pooling. But usually I find that the effects that it makes I'm not opposed to, so like a little bit of texture in my washes. If I wanted something that was super exact, I probably would use like a free piece of paper that's been stretched or, you know, at least taped down to a surface. But this is okay with me. But there's like a big wave here and then it dips. Well, not big, but that's one wave, and then it dips a little bit, and then there's like a little bump over here. But I think it looks pretty good, and it'll dry flat. So exactly. That's my main.
It will dry flat, so it's because you added a lot of water too.
Yeah, there's a lot of water.
Guys, these are 100% cotton sketchbook paper, so it's good. It's good paper. I'm not saying this because I work for Etcher and I want you to buy. I get no commissions from sales. I do say this because I tested the paper myself, and yeah, I love the paper. From artist to artist, I honestly recommend it for watercolor.
Yeah, it's very, very hardy. I like the sturdiness of it. Let's see. And I'm just kind of nitpicking here. I probably will go in one more time here with the just to, you know, you always think you got dark enough, but there's usually something else you can darken.
I'm always so scared to go darker.
My problem is I pick at it for too long and then I end up either ruining something.
Yeah, and comments on the chat is that they love how you're letting the white stay and how it emanates light from the painting. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so a negative painting is really like sculpting. You leave the highest points, so your lightest points, and then you work on everything that's going back. But it isn't like sculpture because some of the areas that you're adding paint to are actually in the like this part, like I'm adding paint into it, but it's actually the front of the flower. So it's fun to make like the comparison, but then it doesn't work in all aspects.
They're asking how many layers of paint do you add until you consider it finished? I mean, can you even answer that question with a number?
It's like, you know, probably it's like a lot of like quarter layers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it depends. And then sometimes you take it back out. Like I'm just here trying to use a thirsty brush, or my other favorite tool is paper towel. So you just kind of blot it.
Very, very expensive. Whew.
What was that?
Paper towel, so very expensive.
Oh,
oh, the simple things make the better effects. Another comment from Michelle. This is lovely. This is another Michelle, by the way. It's not always the same. The best, yeah. Yay, paper towel, right?
As long as it's not toilet paper.
Yeah,
that would leave fuzzies all over your painting. That would be so bad. So bad.
To the live session with Erwin.
Yeah.
For more toilet paper jokes. I think it's becoming a habit in Etcher Lab live demos. We always bring out toilet paper, especially with the pandemic. I know it's like it's important to. Yeah, love how it's coming alive, William. Beautiful, Mary. I love paper towels too, Sasha. Yeah, fantastic.
Oh God. I've tried to actually supplement, like change them out because I don't love using like disposable things when I don't need to. But I haven't found yet. I keep trying different ones, but like a rag that I can wash that has the same effect. Haven't found the right one yet.
Another question, do you use masking fluid when you paint smaller areas of white? Rena asked.
I do when it's like a painting that I'm being very careful with. So if I'm trying to get realistic results, or if I think that it will save me a lot of heartbreak if something gets, if like, 5 minutes with masking fluid will save me, having to redo a painting, then yes, I have, actually I can pull it right out. My drawers are down here. So I have the Schminke masking fluid here that has a applicator tip, and I have a little needle to unplug it when it gets dried out. But I like that one so far. I've had some issues with some in the past that were tinted and it left a tint on my paper. But it might have been because the paper was not the best quality cotton paper. So you live and you learn. You're also not supposed to leave it on for very long. Might have been my mistake.
More great comments from the chat. Yes, guys, you can use this reference photo to do your own studies. We will make it available afterwards so you can see the recording and get the photo. Please do tag us when you share on social media. We would love, love, love to see your art. And there was something else I wanted to bring up. Apart from all the beautiful compliments your painting is getting. Oh, Jeannie, thank you for Julie, thank you for subscribing to Jill's class. You already have at least one new student.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, I'm very excited to do the 1 hour one. It's going to be, it'll be a lot of fun. It's kind of fun to do something in an hour because you can kind of keep that energy and like try something, and you're not usually too nervous, like I can do this for 3 hours.
You guys want to enroll on Jill's mini workshop? I am grabbing the mini workshop link. And bada bing, bada boosh. Thank you for enrolling, Kara. Let me grab the questions that I've been carving from.
Yeah.
Does hot press bloom less or more than cold press? Do you want to take that one?
I think it depends
the paper
on your technique. So the way I use it, I find that it blooms more. But if you're, if you're inserting lots of water into partially dry areas on cold press, you're going to get a lot of blooms too. I think sometimes with hot press, you see even the small blooms more because you don't have that texture to kind of break up the surface. So it doesn't hide them as well. So if it's not something you want, you have to be a little bit more careful with your water consistency on hot press.
Another question, Fred is asking that Fred is a digital artist. He's starting to go for traditional watercolors and he worries about accidentally mixing colors in the pigment cakes in the pans. So should he pull them out to mix elsewhere? Is it better to have a clean palette or it's okay to make it dirty? What are your thoughts about that?
That's an artist's preference. There's definitely, I've seen artists that say like a color that gets dirty easily, like a yellow, they will have 2 different wells devoted to that yellow. So they'll have a yellow to mix with warm colors and they'll have a yellow to mix with cool colors, because a lot of the times you get like muddy colors because you're mixing complementaries unknowingly. Yeah. I mean, you could pour, and then you could also, like, if there's a color you find gets dirty easily, you could also keep a tube of that color on you, and then just add that to your palette whenever you need to use it super clean. The other tip that I've seen from other artists is to, so like I have a little spray bottle, is to like spray your pans, and if it's just the surface that's dirty, you could spray the pan that you want to clean and then either soak up the activated paint with a brush, or you can blot it out with a paper towel, or, drain it off, or usually you don't waste too much paint doing that. And it does provides you with a surface of untainted paint.
There you go. Problem solved. More questions. Can I drop more questions or?
Yeah, I'm just kind of nitpicking here. So it's pretty much just more the same.
In here for 40 minutes and I know it's your lunch break, so do let me know if you need to go. Okay, more questions. Why do you do this piece on hot press paper and why do you prefer hot press for this piece?
So I don't really have a preference. I just happen to have the hot press sketchbook that I've been doing work in lately. And I kind of like to switch up what I'm using. It kind of keeps me on my toes. And, maybe I'll get an idea that I wouldn't have had on cold press by using the hot press because it has, some different textural effects or just different opportunities. But I don't like to switch around. Sometimes I won't switch around too much because then sometimes it's hard to learn what each paper does if you're bouncing between the two. You can't keep that train of thought moving between materials.
Right. I'm going to answer some questions by voice. When are the mini workshops scheduled? Just to be clear, yesterday, very recently, we changed the naming of all the workshops because we are offering 3 different things. So these that you're watching today, the free ones are free live demos. And then we have the mini workshops. Those are $5. And when you get a free workshop, when you get a $5 workshop, you get a $10 voucher to use on art supplies in our store. I just dropped the link on the chat for those. The mini workshops, we schedule them depending on the teacher's availability. So at the moment you can enroll on Jill's mini workshop or Erwin's mini workshop. We'll have more soon. Ideally, we have them before the live demos with the teacher. So for example, next Friday at the same time as today, 5 p.m. London time, 9 a.m. Pacific time, we will do a live demo with Andrew Penna with gouache instead of watercolor. And by then, we are hoping to have his $5 mini workshop scheduled. I hope that clears it up. Okay, more questions. Vimal asks how to control a large wash if it looks patchy, as sometimes paper dries not uniformly.
I think it would probably be, it's kind of like making sure your paints are mixed beforehand. So you're not letting that paint sit while you're mixing more paint. You kind of have everything ready. Making sure your paper, has the opportunity to stay wet as long as you need it to. So whether that's, if it's super dry, having a humidifier or, just mitigating that scenario, because unfortunately there's not much you can really do once it starts to dry. If you add moisture, you're going to get blooms. So it's washes. If you want a super even wash, it's very particular as to what you can do to mitigate that.
Great comments from the chat saying how beautiful your painting is. Many, 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 many. Nikki, can I sign up later? Don't know my card from. Of course you can sign up later. We have 100 spots. As long as they don't fill up, you can always sign up. No pressure. We're not here to pressure anyone into anything. We're here to show you a good time. Thank you, Nikki. More questions. Go ahead, Jill.
Go with it. I'm just adding in the dark to really push that part back, and then I'll probably be done with this.
Yeah, it's looking really alive right now. Olivia asks if you mix granular with non-granular colors.
Yeah, so I know in my head which paints in my palette are granular and non-granular, but I have to say when I'm painting, unless I have a very clear desire to use them or not to use them, I usually don't really pay attention to which one I'm grabbing. I'm just usually looking more at hue and value than I am at that particular property, because I think they kind of mix really well.
I just got information from Simon Frisbee, who is lurking in the chat, one of our co-founders. Hi, Simon. So he just confirmed for me, yes, if you do purchase a spot for the live workshop, so again, live workshop, the one you pay $5, if you do purchase a spot, you will have a recording of the mini live workshop. So it's okay if you have to come in later, get out earlier, or if you can't go at all, it will be recorded just for you. So, and thank you, Shirley, for enrolling, even not knowing that you are an angel.
Okay. Just kind of adding those details.
More questions. Does a dry climate? Yeah, I already asked that one. Dry climate. Top tips for painting white subjects. That's more of your live mini workshop, right?
It is. That is the title of my live mini workshop. It's not only about like using negative painting to enhance white subjects, but also like learning how to be more creative with your color choices while painting white subjects, because you kind of get to bend the rules a little bit when you paint. If you're not trying to go for like super realistic, sometimes being non-realistic makes it look more realistic. So yeah.
Got another great question by Victoria. And before you give your answer, I will add to that. So question is, do you have any tips for staying in the right value the further along you get with your painting? I have a hard time knowing where to stop before I've overworked a composition. Jill, I'll let you get back to that in just a second. But also, Victoria, I interviewed James Gurney for our podcast, and James did talk about that specific question. So if you'd like to hear his answer, you can also listen to his episode at etchelab.com/Gurney. I'll get that link on the chat. And Jill, what are your thoughts?
So the way that I've kind of been doing it lately is stepping away from your painting and like, doing the whole squinty thing. And so actually with the Zoom classes, if this wasn't glaringly wet, sometimes I'll look at the screen and just see what is being broadcast, because that's at a distance for me. Sometimes taking a photo with your phone can help you see it at a distance, and you'll kind of see when stuff is missing or if something went too far. This works for composition too. But like if I stand up and kind of squint my eyes at both of these pictures, I'd be able to see where the differences are. And then if I didn't have a reference photo, you can kind of like see, do you think something's missing inherently just in the painting as a painting? Because sometimes it's good to like move away from your reference photo and kind of take your own spin on things, because sometimes your photo isn't the greatest. And sometimes those are the best photos to paint from, because then you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. Another great question from Melissa. Can you do as many layers as you want, or is there a limit? Jill, I'd love to hear your thoughts. My super short answer, I know you're here for Jill, you're not here for me, but I need to talk, guys. I have to do this. Melissa, you can do as many layers as you want as long as the paper takes it. And for that, you want to make sure to use 100% cotton paper, such as our sketchbooks, who are all 100% cotton. I'll get a link on the chat. And of course, there comes a time there the colors might get a little bit muddy, but I'll let Jill answer more if you have anything else to add, Jill.
Yeah, certain papers will react differently to many layers, but if you're not like abusing the paper, so scrubbing out stuff, disturbing that top layer of fibers, or trying to play too much with an area while it's wet, once again, disturbing the fibers, like physically with your brush. I've had really good luck with, sometimes I could go upwards of 20 layers on my really, really intricate paintings. I kind of do a range of styles, with intricate being, I'm doing very light washes many, many times over to get the right like nuance and hues and values. But yeah, and I know I haven't yet had the opportunity to do like a really crazy, like many layer painting on the etcher paper. But I know like Arches takes it. Fabriano's okay as long as you're not abusing it. I do find that the surface will get roughed up sooner than Arches will. But I haven't had the chance to, usually because I think all the paper I have from Etcher is in my sketchbook, so I can't like buckle it down. But yeah, no, the paper is usually pretty good. As long as it's cotton, yeah.
Great questions. Jill, you are too talented. I have signed up. That's M. Eastwood. I missed the beginning. Can I save and watch later entirely? Yes, Marina, you can. This is all recorded for you lovely peeps. You can watch it anytime. Love the depth of the whites here. It's beautiful, says C-Pop. Thank you. Can you apply 2 or more vouchers, workshop vouchers on one transaction when ordering Etcher supplies? Ms. Moni, if you can please email us at hello@etcherlab.com. We will do the best we can to help you with that. So just, I know by default, the website does not allow you to do that, but do email us and our team will get back to you in usually 24 to 36 working day hours. We are a bunch of workaholics who also check our emails during the weekend, but Monday to Friday, we will for sure get back to you within 36-ish hours. By the way, we're not workaholics because anyone makes us work. I'm barely working because I have a baby and the team is amazing. Just making this clear. We just really love this so much that I love watching. I love reading everybody's emails. You guys are so kind. Just seriously, thank you. More questions. Okay, so more people signing up to your workshop, Jill. This is this is like so cool. I am at a loss for words. 20 layers, someone says. Yeah.
Those are like extreme stuff. Actually, I think the painting you used to promote this particular session was one of those paintings. It's the tulips by the window, and it's about 11 by 14 in size, and that took a while. But yeah, so I think this is kind of done. I'm going to mute myself real quick just to dry it so you can see what it looks like dried.
Any more questions? Just making sure I'm not forgetting anything. The nuances of the colors are satisfying. Signed up for the workshop. Thank you so much.
So actually one thought I had that kind of goes along with the how many layers can you add, and it's something I actually cover in the workshop, is like just being careful how much paint you add. So if it's all diluted, it's great, but there is such thing as adding too much paint to the paper. And you'll notice when it literally looks like matte or like shiny compared to the rest of the paper. And like if you look at it from the side, like you'll see like if you add too much, that it looks like pasty. And that's when you literally have paint sitting on top of your paper. That's too much, unless that's your thing. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm going to leave this one. And I know you guys probably want to see a little.
Yeah, the best part of painting.
And always peel at an angle. It's always really sad if you don't, and then like the paper rips inwards occasionally. If you put it on and it like just catches an angle or something like that.
Wow. Beautiful.
I'll throw in an extra little bonus tip too. Hang on. Okay. So with a 5x7 one, because just remember that a 5x7 mat goes in 1/4 of an inch. I always decide where to sign my paintings once I have a mat kind of over it, and then I can figure out where I want to sign it.
Yeah. Guys, everybody listening to this, while Jill was finishing and making, oh my God, the signature. Yes. I was just confirming the combining vouchers for you. So I have the most accurate information. But most of the team is already asleep. So again, email us asking if you can combine. I do not want to 100% promise you we can, because I don't want to promise anything that I'm not 100% sure. I do know that we try to facilitate as much as possible because we really do care about you. But please, again, email us. If we can help, we will do our best to help. But do not say that, like, I have no power here. We will do our best, but I cannot promise you, but we'll do our best. Okay, it's finished. We had one more question that I want to, before we go. I cannot. You guys are writing a lot, which is great. I don't remember who asked, but someone was asking about painting when part of the wash is dry and the other part is wet. How do you go about that?
Well, you always have to acknowledge that if you add any more water, it may bloom into the drying area. But if you're just charging in a little bit of paint into the still wet area, you may be able to get away with adding it without any adverse effects. But changing that water level is what will cause that water to surge, will surge into that dry area.
There you go. Beautiful. Okay. Oh, and by the way, also, once you get the workshop, you guys purchase the workshop, it's $5. If you're asking where is my $10 discount voucher, you will get an email with your voucher just for you. So that's where that is. It will not go into thin air of the galaxy or something. You'll get it in your inbox. Okay, this is looking beautiful. Jill, one last question.
Yeah.
Joanna is asking if you do recommend sketching from life. This is a really good question.
Sketching from life is really fun for kind of trying to get the nuance of the light and form. You definitely get a better taste for what's going to make it kind of look alive. From experience, I know I had trouble with this when I first started. I do find that I enjoyed it more once I'd had some practice just learning my materials in a more controlled setting. That may not be everyone. That's just how I kind of reacted to the situation. But now I really enjoy plein air painting and that experience. And if I can paint a still life from life.
I got yourself on the spotlight because the painting is finished, so they can have a little bit of Jill because they deserve a little bit of Jill too. Okay, I think those are it from the questions. Are you guys ready for the brush giveaway? The fun part. Let me also get myself on camera just for a second so I can show you the dun 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 brushes, precious. So this is a set of synthetic brushes. We're ready for the giveaway. For you guys to be in for this, just comment on the chat, and you guys are already commenting, so that's great. Just keep on commenting, and I will scroll up and down, and land on a lucky winner. Again, these brushes are synthetic, vegan friendly, like everything we have on our website. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 brushes. We have the normal round brushes, half of them are round. And then we have the flat brushes, the angled brushes, and a mop brush. So you guys can do a bunch of different effects with just this one set. We made it so it's great for watercolor, and there's nothing else I can say because I said everything about it, and they look really cool. I hope you guys will think that, like, this is matte black. I'm in love with the brush because I did design them with the help of the team. Oh, and you get this lovely pouch as well. This is like my baby. I'm very proud of it. So I hope you guys enjoy them as much as I did making them. I did not do this by myself. Okay. I'm going to select a lucky winner now. Let me unspotlight my video. You guys are probably cancel spotlight. Okay. And the lucky winner is Kelly. Kelly, and Kelly is the winner. There you go. We got a winner. Kelly, congratulations. If you can, Kelly, I will try to ping you personally, but if you can email us at hello@etchrlab.com and write, I won the brushes, I will also try to get in touch with you to get all your details, but double safety and whatnot. So yeah, please, Kelly, email us at hello@etchelab.com and say, I want the brushes. I will get your email. The whole team will get your email, and then we will ask for everything we need to get you this your way. Okay, we have to go. It's been 1 minute for the hour. Jill, any last words?
No, thank you for having me. I'm sorry that took a little, that actually went a little longer than we.
Do not apologize for awesomeness. This was perfect. Thank you for blessing us with 1 hour of beautifulness.
It's a nice break.
Great lunch break. Okay, I'm just leaving the link for the mini workshops again. If you want to enroll for Jill's class, here you go. Just drop the link on the website. And again, next week, we will have Andrew Penna teaching us gouache, same time. And next week, we will do another giveaway. But this time, instead of the brushes, we will do a giveaway of one of our mini palettes. So if you guys want to be in for a mini palette, and you can choose if it's the 19 or 37, well, please tune in and we will give away one at the very end. Okay, that's it. Thank you guys so much. You were amazing today. And we will disappear and come back in a week. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.